Bleach has finally returned with episode 1, the first episode of Cour 4. The last episode we saw dropped over a year and a half ago on the 28th of December 2024. Cour 4 has had over 18 months of production time in comparison to the previous cours that had only 6 to 10 months of time. Personally, I am glad that Pierrot Films has taken time to make each of the episodes to a high standard, so much so that they released the very first 3 episodes of Cour 4 as a global cinema release, which has earned over $4.8 million at the box office, proving that their hard work has already been well received by fans. Cour 4 The Calamity is the first fully animated season by Pierrot Films. This is a new internal studio within Studio Pierrot, which aims to adapt anime into shorter, higher quality seasons, bringing more of a cinematic feel to seasonal anime. Studio Pierrot's aim is to try and attract a broader audience. As we start the final season of the Bleach anime, I will be posting weekly reviews as well as manga versus anime breakdowns, so be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notification so that you don't miss all of the latest coverage on Cour 4 The Calamity. So before the episode review, let's dive into the new opening and ending song that played with episode 41. So the opening is the song Eyeball performed by Joji, and the ending song is Rasen or Spiral performed by Nine Lana. So it begins with a shot of Ichigo's face in a close-up angle. So he's in sync with the music as we then see the Gote 13 as they approach the battlefield. The visuals look absolutely stunning with the smoke and particle effects here. We've got Shunsui, all of the captains there, and yeah, then a close-up shot of Shunsui, Byakuya, Toshiro, Rukia, Renji, and Kinpachi. And again, it looks amazing. You've got the different characters on the different sides of the battlefield, like the Askin group here, Urahara, Yoruichi, Neliel, and Grimmjow. And then you've got, of course, Ichigo's group here with Ganju, Chad, Uryu, and Orihime. And then this really cool shot of Ichigo's face here as he smirks, ready to fight. He's looking up there, of course, as he's about to face off against Yuhoba. Uryu there holding onto his Quincy cross. Again, the visuals look absolutely cool, playing alongside this amazing music. The song really does fit exactly what is being shown, and then you've got Chad and Ganju going up against the statues. Again, this was a single panel within the manga. I mean, they're really paying attention to it, even including it into the opening. Then we have Kinpachi here with his Shikai Nozarashi activated over his shoulder, and then Byakuya there and Toshiro, so this is the Gerard group. And then this really cool shot of Yoruichi and Urahara. Yoruichi looks absolutely menacing here. Then the group shot of the Vizards all donning their hollow masks, ready to face off against Gerard Valkyrie. Again, just look at the lighting, how everything looks so amazing. The character models look incredible. Then there's a shot of the Shinigami Research and Development Institute with these warning signs here. We then continue with this really cool visual of Askin Naklava. Again, it looks amazing and it's totally in sync with the music. Look at that amazing lighting and the particle effects there on his Volstandig. Yeah, he's darting across the battlefield as we then pan across to Gerard Valkyrie, and he looks equally menacing here as he's oversized. And then there's the offshoots of Lil Barrow, the flamingo-shaped creatures that are currently within the Soul Society. Again, it's going to be really interesting to see what role they play. I'm hoping that there's going to be some anime expanded content featuring these flamingo creatures. And then of course there's Hashwald, who's getting so much anime expanded content with his battle against Uryu. We've seen across episode 41 that he in fact has his own version of the Almighty, which has altered his personality. So he's no longer his usual calm self. The Almighty has activated different personality traits, which are making him far more brash and confident. There you have it. So he reaches his arm up into the sky and he appears to be transforming as we've got those eyes of the Almighty on his hand there. Yeah, those particles. Yeah, what's interesting is that his hand appears to be dissipating into these blue particles. Then a larger hand grabs a hold and crushes him. Then we have this shot of Orihime, who again is getting a lot of love within the anime, and this is absolutely amazing. This is one of the coolest shots within the opening, as she fires off her Shunshin Rika powers, creating a shield presumably to protect Ichigo. We have none other than Ichigo and the group facing off against Yuhoba. You've got his Black Soul King Absorb Reiatsu firing off against Orihime. Renji is here too. and Ichigo's cutting away through all of it. Wow, amazingly, we've got a shot of Rukia in her Bankai, which hints at Rukia appearing within the throne room, activating her Bankai and having a face-off against Yhwach alongside Renji, Orihime and Ichigo, and that's just amazing to think about. I cannot believe they've included this within the opening. I mean, what a tease for events that are yet to come. So yeah, Ichigo's cutting away through everything. He's blasting away that black Soul King Reiatsu as he clashes against Yhwach there. And then you've got the arrows of Uryu that are firing off as he's gliding through the air, facing off against Hashward, and this close-up shot reveals that Hashward does indeed have the Almighty activated with those 3 irises in each of his eyes. And yeah, he's clashing against Uryu there. The visuals look absolutely amazing as he's bouncing off of walls. Uryu's giving it just as much energy as Byakuya then is shown with his Bankai activating during his fight against Gerard. Kinpachi's using his Shikai against Gerard Valkyrie. And then we've got these cool visuals of Hitsugaya versus Gerard too. Again, they're doing such a great job of giving each fight its moment to shine within the opening. Then of course we've got Neliel and Grimmjow as Grimmjow watches over the battlefield, getting ready to make his move against Askin Naklavar. Then of course we have Urahara who swipes out Benihime, and then Yoruichi versus Askin. And yeah, these visuals are absolutely incredible. And then we've got this shot of Ukitake in the background. We know that Ukitake has not yet collapsed as of the events of Core 3, so he's going to play an extended role within Core 4, and these visuals are hinting at this anime expanded content as we see Shunsui there looking very somber. And then, fascinatingly, we have Ruruka and Yukio who are bringing none other than Tsukishima and Ginjo onto the battlefield. And this is really cool. Again, Tsukishima and Ginjo played a very minimal role within the manga, and these visuals being within the opening promises that they're going to have a expanded role. And then we have none other than Sosuke Aizen who releases his Reiatsu as we see the black Soul King absorbed Yhwach's Reiatsu. And then yeah, Yhwach emerges from the darkness there looking ominous. As we zoom into those almighty eyes which look incredibly cool, he then sees Ichigo there clashing against him as we cut and we see the Bleach 1000 Year Blood War logo. This is amazing. I mean, what an incredible opening song for the final season of Bleach 1000 Year Blood War. So that was the amazing opening Eyeball by Joji, as we're now going to be reacting to the ending Rasen by 9 Lana. So the opening begins with a shot of Orihime contrasting the close-up shot of Ichigo from the opening. As she steps forward there, we have Chad, Ichigo and Uryu, and it's a sunny day in Karakura town. It's a contrast to the opening song, as things look a lot more lively and upbeat. Orihime is walking alongside Ichigo there, as we see the birds flying across the sky. The camera then pans over to Rukia and Renji standing back to back. We've got all of these swords here placed into the ground. Again, it's a really chilled out song with chilled out visuals as light shines behind them as they turn to look towards what it is. And similarly, we have this cool shot of Uryu, Orihime, Ichigo and Chad looking up at the sky there as the clouds are moving. And then there's a crack within the sky. We've got these different colored crystalline fragments which appear to be submerged underwater here. The black clouds totally consume the scene as the crystal fragments are destroyed, as we cut to Hashward with the Shoot Starfall walking with this overhead shot here, and behind them is Yhwach there. Then we have the Shinigami stepping forward, Ichigo there alongside Chad, Orihime, Ganju, Urahara, Yoruichi, Uryu, Renji and Rukia. With these smoke clouds blowing across them, the lighting looks incredible, the characters look really on model. And then we have this cool shot of Ichigo here, this close-up portrait angle. He looks really serious. Then we've got these cool visuals of the Soul Society with the raindrops falling. And it appears to be the 11th Division barracks with Kinpachi Zaraki looking up. Again, more raindrops forming puddles on the ground. Then we have this Zanpakuto here being held, and we have Byakuya and Hitsugaya as they're sat there in a meditative position. And then emotionally we've got this cool shot of Ukitake smiling as he's facing Shunsui, again hinting that we're going to be getting more Ukitake anime original content in Core 4. Yeah, he reaches out there as we then cut to Neliel and Grimmjow here. Again, Neliel got barely a few panels within the manga, and the fact that she's appearing so much within the opening and ending is really promising. Again, this close-up shot of her, which looks absolutely amazing. Then we've got these flowers here that are blooming. These are the Gloriosa flowers, which have been linked to the character of Ichigo. We'll learn more about these in episode 42. Then we have this blurry shot of Ichigo from behind here, as his hand is outstretched here, as he yells out and charges towards Yuhoba. And amazingly, we've got on his two swords the reflections of the people that matter most to him. On one of the swords, we have Hollow Ichigo alongside Onman Zangetsu, and on the other blade, we have Isshin and Masaki. What a emotional visual to include within the ending. And then yeah, contrastingly, we have Uryu Ishida as he draws out his holy bow, and in the reflections of his Quincy cross, we see Soken Ishida, his mother Kanai Katagiri, and of course his father Ryuken there. And then we've got these scales there which are tipping, and of course this is in reference to Hashwald's Shrift ability, the balance. The scales are tipping as we see Ichigo and Uryu, as we cut to Ichigo slashing across the air with Urahara and Yoruichi rushing forward. And then this really cool shot of Aizen just looking up at the sky, and again he appears to be freed from Chair-sama, so God knows what he's going to be up to. I mean, the fact that we've seen so much of him within the opening and ending promises that we're going to be getting a lot of expanded content with him in Core 4. Yeah, I mean, that was really cool. Aizen's eyes squinted there a little bit as we then see Ichigo there holding what appears to be a new form of his Zanpakuto. Now, if you know what this is super hype. They've included it within the ending here, the final moments. This, of course, is Ichigo's all-new true Bankai Tensar Zangetsu, as he raises the sword behind him. This, of course, is from the final moments of his battle against Yuhoba, as he swings the sword around above his head as he cuts down, and the ending concludes with Bleach 1000-Year Blood War appearing on screen. I mean, what an absolutely incredible ending. The song Rasen, performed by Nine Lana, was incredible. And it might be a matter of recency bias, but honestly, these two are my most favorite opening and ending songs from the 1000-Year Blood War arc anime. I mean, it's more than just both songs are absolutely incredible and they were picked by Kubo himself. It's how the songs have matching visuals that totally complement the story that is being told within Core 4. Yeah, I have no complaints about either opening or ending, and I'd love to know what you guys think of the final opening and ending for the 1000-Year Blood War arc anime. Episode 41 of the 1000-Year Blood War arc anime opens in the most unexpected way, as it throws us straight into a nightmare that's experienced by Yuhobaha himself. As he sleeps, he sees a future in which Ichigo runs him through and splits him clean in half with a single swing of his Shikai Zanpakuto, it seems. It's a pretty chilling way to kick off the final leg of this war. We then move to Yuhoba surveying the battlefield through the eye of the Almighty as he watches Hashwald lead his forces, as we also see glimpses of Pernida, Lil and Bazbi on the battleground. Yuhoba's gaze then settles on Ichigo, Orihime and Chad as they rush to confront him, and it's here that he regards Ichigo as his son born in darkness. From here we get a panning shot across Vaharveld, carrying us past each of the ongoing battles before settling on Uryu and Hashwald. Uryu urges Ichigo, Orihime and Chad to press on towards Yuhobag while he stays behind to deal with the Grandmaster. We briefly follow the three of them as they run into a wave of statues, with Orihime throwing up his shield to guard herself and Ichigo while Chad clears a path for them. The highlight of the first half of episode 41 is easily Uryu and Hashwald's battle. The pacing here is incredible, with Uryu activating his Volstandig almost immediately as he attempts to overwhelm Hashwald with a relentless wall of arrows, only for the Almighty to see through and weave past every last one of them. The exchange eventually sees Hashwald pin Uryu down and drive his blade into his shoulder, all while channeling the Black Reiatsu of the Soul King as a sinister rift begins tearing open beneath the pair of them. We then cut away to the world of the living, where Jinta, Ururu and Tessai are watching an identical crack forming in the sky above Karakura town. Now this is a really nice anime exclusive scene, as it ties directly into the distortion that Urahara had been investigating, and it does so much to sell just how dire things have become, as the manga never really dove into details as specific as this. Now, returning to their battle, Hashward finally lays out Yhwach's true endgame, as he reveals that every event of this war, from the culling of the Hollows to the deaths of Yamamoto and Squad Zero, it's all been building towards the annihilation of the three realms and the birth of a new Quincy monarchy known as Welt. It's a pretty huge amount of lore to take in, but it casts a totally different light on the information we've learned so far, and Uryu's resolve here brings the whole thing crashing down as it gives the first half of episode 41 a real sense of direction. The second half switches gears entirely as we focus on Yoruichi's battle with Askin, with Urahara arriving to lend his support. Yoruichi is being ground down here, taking on more and more of Askin's poison while stubbornly refusing to transform. This is up until Urahara forces her. What follows is the God of Thunder transformation, which is what the episode is named after. Now, this form was incredibly jaw-dropping, with a Reiatsu shifting 48 times every second. Askin is left completely unable to build any resistance to her, and Yoruichi proceeds to knock him all over the battlefield. The episode then ends on a brilliant cliffhanger, as Askin refuses to stay down and he unleashes his Gift Ball Deluxe, revealing his Volstandig Hasyain, and leaving us on a real high heading into next week. Now, as for the overall pacing, this episode juggles quite a lot. It moves between Uryu, Ichigo's group, and Yoruichi without ever feeling cluttered or rushed. And this is considering it adapts some of the least consequential material of the entire core. I was really surprised by how gripping it was from the start to the end, and it's a confident opening statement for Core 4, and it has me very excited for what's to come. A large portion of this episode consists entirely of anime original content that we have never seen before. And it's more than just showing us off-screen content. The entirety of Uryu and Hashward's battle has been totally reformed within the anime. It's like we are watching an all-new version of the 1000-Year Blood War arc. Like an enhanced version which includes all of the information and details that Kubo was unable to include within the manga due to his failing health. Now, this is where we move on to the animation and production of episode 41. Being as it's the first episode of Core 1, episode 41 will be very telling of the kind of quality that we can expect going forward. This is mainly because it adapts some of the least important events of the core, the beginning of Uryu and Hashward's final battle, as well as Yoruichi's very cultured battle against Askin. None of this could have prepared us for the surprise that is within episode 41, which is the storyboard and direction done by none other than Dali Chen, the genius behind Uryu and Renji's incredible battle in episode 33. His presence here at such a seemingly unimportant point is a strong indicator of just how much production conditions have improved between Core 3 and Core 4. Now, this is something that I'll touch upon later. This episode is filled with Dali Chen's trademark use of 3D environments to create dynamic camera movements that give the illusion of true three-dimensionality. This is essentially impressive considering that the characters themselves remain traditionally animated in 2D. The amazing CGI sequence at the start of the episode, where we pan through Vaharvelt, is a perfect example of this. While Dali Chen doesn't go quite as wild here as he did in episode 33, the visual ambition that we've come to associate with him is still very much present. My favorite moment is when Hashward runs across Uryu's funnels. As he takes off, we get a fantastic slow motion shot from underneath him before he lands on the first funnel. It's just one of many creative shots throughout episode 41, and Dali Chen continues to prove why he is one of the greatest assets of this 1000-Year Blood War anime adaptation. When it comes to the actual animation, the highlight is easily Masaki Endo's fantastic interpretation of Yoruichi's berserker onslaught. He also appears to have handled many of the lightning effects in this episode, with help from action effects animation director Takashi Hashimoto. Endo wasn't the only returning animator either. We also had Tadashi Fukuda, Yu Natsuki and Natsuko Suzuki returning, alongside in-house Pero film staff such as Minami Shiba, Young Hoon Jung, who served as a episode director along with assistant animation director credits, and he did effects animation directing in Core 4, and the last time he did this was in Core 1 for episodes 1, 3 and 5. And lastly, we have Rina Suzuki. Seeing how much of the same team has been retained throughout such a long production is really encouraging. Maintaining this level of consistency, even with freelance studios like Fei Hung involved, is especially impressive. Now that said, outside of Endo's incredible cut, the episode's animation is mostly just above average. However, even that is still noticeably higher than the average episode quality from the previous 3 Cours. The fact that Dali Chen, who was undoubtedly one of the stars of Cour 3, was able to storyboard and direct an episode this early in the Cour is a sign of how much the additional 18 months of production time has helped the team schedule more flexibly for Cour 4. Overall, this was a very bold first episode, and I'm super excited to see how the rest of Cour 4 turns out. Honestly, I can't believe I'm saying this, but those were my initial thoughts of the very first episode of Cour 4, episode 41. As a premiere, it did exactly what I hoped it would, easing us back into the war whilst immediately proving that the long wait from Cour 3 to 4 has been worth it. The Yoruichi and Askin portion of the episode was largely faithful to the manga, but the Uryu and Hashwell battle was a completely different story, as it took a mere handful of manga panels and reworked them into a fully fledged anime original battle packed with brand new dialogue and lore. Thankfully, nothing felt cut from this episode. This is a good thing, as Cour 4 only has 25.5 manga chapters left to adapt. If anything, episode 41 received far more than what the manga originally gave us, and I will be going over every single one of these cuts, changes and additions in tomorrow's manga versus anime comparison video, because there is quite a lot to unpack. Next week's episode is titled Son of Darkness, a title that is clearly named in reference to Ichigo, whom Yuhobak has acknowledged as his son born in darkness at the very start of this episode and even in Cour 1. I expect the battle with Askin to continue, as in the manga this is roughly where Urahara takes over the fight following Askin's Volstagg reveal at the end of this episode. However, given the title of episode 42, I also expect the anime to place more of its focus back onto Yuhobak. With the additional production time Cour 4 has been given, I'm really curious to see whether if they keep expanding these battles at this same rate or whether if they are saving their biggest swings for later in the season. We've reached the point of the video where I want to hand over the discussion to all of you. What were your thoughts on the very first episode of Cour 4? Were you as blown away as I was to finally see Yoruichi's God of Thunder form animated? What did you make of the completely reworked Uryu and Hashward battle? And how are you feeling now that we have finally reached the final season of the 1000-Year Blood War anime? Lastly, thanks for making it to the end of this one, and I cannot wait to see you tomorrow for my manga versus anime comparison for the latest episode of Bleach. A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.